I'm Lumi, and for my first ever video, I will be spending 100 days in the 1.21 Minecraft update. It was released recently, and I haven't had the chance to fully explore it yet. There's so many cool new features, including new mobs, a new weapon, and new challenges. So if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a nice comment down below. Oh, and before I forget, I had allergies when I was recording this, so if I sound kinda sick, that's why. And with that, this is 100 days in Minecraft 1.21. On day 1, I spawned next to a cherry grove, which was really good because I wanted to use cherry wood for my base and I did not want to walk 2,000 blocks just to find some. I made my way up the mountain so I could chop my very first tree, get my very first tools, and collect some cherry saplings for later. After that, I went back down the mountain, upgraded my tools, and collected a few pieces of coal in the process. I also found some iron. Eventually, I stumbled across a village, which made me super excited because I've always loved putting my bases beside villages. It's just more convenient. I stole all of their hay so I can make bread, and I stole one of their beds as well. And with that, I slept through the rest of day 1. On day 2, I searched the area looking for the perfect spot to begin building my home. I found a nice flat spot nearby, so after putting my stuff away, I just got to work clearing the area. I did this pretty much all of day 2, other than placing some of my saplings and collecting dark oak for my house. But I did find a pretty big cave, but I just wasn't ready to explore it yet, so I just chose to go to sleep instead. The first thing I did on day 3 was craft a shield and a bucket, and I couldn't help but notice there wasn't a water source close by, so I knew I had to make an infinite water pool eventually. But for now, I just focused on clearing the land. I decided to go ahead and start placing the walls for my house because I knew if I didn't start as soon as possible, it was going to take me even longer to complete the build because I'm a slow builder in survival. And I realized that a water bucket was going to be useful for building, so I just ran off to find the nearest water source, which wasn't close at all, and I had to make that trip twice for my infinite water pool. By the time I made it back with my second bucket of water, it was already night, so I just had a sleepover with the villagers to avoid fighting mobs. The next day, I walked back to my base, finished my infinite water pool, and continued working on my house. And that's pretty much all I did for day 4. I started day 5 by working on my house, but then I got curious about that cave I found, so I decided to go check it out. And it did not disappoint, because by the time it was day 6, I had over a stack of iron, and that was from the cave entrance alone. I made an iron axe so I could clear the area more efficiently, and worked on my house while my iron smelted. By the end of day 6, I officially had full iron armor. I spent days 7 through 10 trying to finish my house, and it was looking good, but my main concern was the roof. I wanted it to match the 1.21 aesthetic, so I decided I was going to make it out of copper, which meant I had to mine a ton of it. And I needed something to use for the trim of the roof, so I decided to go with deep slate. I just thought that the colors might complement each other well. For days 11 and 12, I really wanted to finish my house. I know most people finish within the first 7 days, but like I said, I'm a slow builder in survival, and hey, don't shame me for that. Also, laugh all you want, I had to go back to the cave and get more coal because I was running out after all the copper I smelted just for my roof. Anyways, while I waited for more copper to smelt, I started working on my interior. I didn't really have anything in mind for this, so I just kind of freestyled it. Luckily, I was able to finish things up by the end of day 12, and I was really happy with how it turned out. I mean, look at it, it's beautiful. Day 13 felt like a blur to me because all I did was work on my interior for what felt like 1 minute, then I blinked and suddenly it was night. I spent the rest of day 13 organizing my chest. I mean, I really don't know what happened. The next day, I started working on my farm because eventually I was going to run out of bread and there weren't a lot of cows around. Speaking of which, yes, I know, I should just make some animal pens. I'll do that later. Leave me alone. I didn't make my farm super fancy or anything, but you know what? I love it anyways because it's going to provide me with food, and food is more important. Why is there a loud truck outside? After that, I went on a little sugarcane adventure because I wanted enchanted tools ASAP. On day 15, I began working on my sugarcane farm, which thankfully did not take but like 2 seconds. And can I just say, it's so annoying when I chop a tree that's next to another tree, and instead of the leaves breaking, they just float there because they're touching the other tree's leaves. Please fix this, Mojang. I decided to make a path from my house to my farm because the base itself wasn't looking very aesthetic. I even added some flowers. I also planted some cherry saplings because I want the cherry blossom particle effect around my base. I went down into another cave I saw and mined some coal, but then I noticed a lush cave. Well, not much of one. I got some moss, some azalea saplings, and even some vines. And I tried to find an axolotl, but instead all I found was this trident guy. Yeah, that's not fun. After I left the cave, I used the moss that I got to add more personality to my path. The next day, I decided to start mining for diamonds so I could finally upgrade my tools and armor. I guess I had super good luck because I ended up finding 27 diamonds within the first 5 minutes. Like, how did that even happen? I spent the next 2 days continuing my mining expedition and returned home with over a stack of diamonds. So yeah, I'd call that a successful mining trip. And by the time I get my enchants going, I really hope I can get Fortune 3 so that I can mine double that. I started off day 19 by checking my sugarcane farm, then I was like, you know what, I'm bored. Let's go get obsidian for another portal. So that's what I did. I made my way back home, cleared a spot, and made my portal. Before lighting it, I decorated the area to make it more pretty. Also, just a warning, I hate the nether. It's not like I die a lot or anything, I'm just not good at navigating it, and ghasts are an absolute menace. And with that, I lit my portal and hopped inside, hoping for a good nether spawn. Unfortunately, my spawn kinda sucked, but I did collect some glowstone before going back. I didn't really do anything on day 20, I just gathered some wood for builds and cleared an area for an animal pen, which I should have done like 10 days ago. Don't judge me. On day 21, I built my animal pen, and I know most people build 2 or 3 to separate their animals, which I usually do, but I decided to just make one big one instead for the convenience. I grabbed some wheat and found some sheep and cows to lure to my base. And that was a disaster, so I cried myself to sleep. Luckily, I was able to find some sheep and cows the next day and get them into the pen without another incident. I spent the rest of day 22 working on an enchantment gazebo, which I've never actually built before, so this was kind of fun, and I needed a little bit of something more extravagant, I guess, for my base, because it was looking kind of bland. I finally finished my gazebo on day 23, I don't know why it took me so long. Then I went ahead and harvested some of my sugarcane and planted some more wheat around my farm. Then I decided to put a lightning rod on top of my gazebo and it's so cute. And then I just decorated my base a little bit more because I thought it wasn't looking, I don't know. Is that the right word? Then I started getting kind of bored, so I decided, you know what, let's go out on a little adventure. I want a dog. I want one of the new dogs, or 2 of the new dogs, or all of them. Maybe that should be one of my goals. So I set out for an adventure on day 25, and of course I had to make a pit stop for some flowers, specifically tulips because they're my favorite. I was also on the lookout for an archaeology site, but I literally could not find any, so I was very disappointed because I actually thought they were really fun. And on day 26, I was so excited because I finally found some dogs and they were so cute. Now, I don't know if these ones are based off of German Shepherds, but that's what they look like. And let me tell you guys, I'm like a huge dog person, okay? I would foster like 1,000,000 dogs if I had the opportunity. And some way, somehow, I ended up getting super lost and I actually stumbled across a mansion. Hello? But yeah, I just saved the corpse for later because ain't no way I'm going into that yet. And as I was trying to find my way back, I actually came across another type of dog. Now, I don't know what type this is supposed to be, but maybe I'll look them up later. I finally found my way back home on day 27, and I let out the biggest sigh of relief. I was so glad to be back. I put away everything that I gathered on my trip, which was mostly flowers. I was just glad to finally have some companions. I spent all of day 28 just chilling around, you know, doing some chores around my base. And yay, I finally made my first bookshelves! I decided to spend some time decorating again because I knew that after this, I was gonna have to get really busy, like really busy. I mean, it's about time to find a spawner and make an XP farm, don't you think? So on day 29, I replaced my iron armor with diamond and went out and searched for a spawner. And after a while of exploring, I was able to find a skeleton spawner, which was super exciting because it was actually pretty close to my base, and this also meant infinite arrows and bone meal. I immediately got to work on my XP farm, and by the end of day 30, I was officially finished, and you know what? I was satisfied with it. I started off day 31 by doing some basic chores around my base, and then I decided to go out and explore the surrounding area a little bit. I found an azalea tree, so I decided to dig down and see if I could find an axolotl. And after a while of searching, I actually ended up finding a pink one, so yay! After returning home on day 32, I got to work on my axolotl pond. And just in case you're curious why I didn't place my axolotl in it when I was finished, that's because I do not have a name tag yet, and if you place an axolotl without a name tag, they will despawn. I spent days 33 and 34 just really trying to finish my enchantment gazebo. I mean, there was still so much to do, and I just wasn't making fast enough progress. And of course, I had to explode my sugarcane again. For days 35 and 36, I decided to build a brewing hut so I could begin potion making. I specifically wanted night vision because I came across an ancient city a while ago while I was mining, and night vision makes it easier to see shriekers. By the way, I accidentally cut that out. My bad, I was too lazy to fix it. On day 37, I entered the Nether looking for another fortress, and luckily I ended up finding one only a couple hundred blocks away, which isn't too bad. After a long while of hesitating, I dropped down into the fortress and literally fought for my life the entire time. My main issue was that I kept almost hitting the zombified piglins, and it was really annoying, so I just started blocking them in with cobblestone because I didn't have any wood for a boat. I didn't have a specific number of blaze rods in my mind when I was fighting them. I just kind of kept going for some reason. Even when my shield was about to break, I kept going. Like, what is wrong with me? But after I realized, I literally just panicked and was like, oh no, I gotta get out of here, like, ASAP. I made it back home by the end of day 38 and I made my brewing stand. Day 39 was an unfortunate day because I found out that my villagers were dead. And that meant I had to go find a new village to use. Thankfully, I was able to find one not too far away, and I also got a carrot from a zombie, which made me really happy because I needed them for my night vision potions. I set up a portal to the village and went back home, only to realize that I still needed nether wart, so I had to go back in the nether. I ended up finding nether wart at a bastion, but I really didn't feel like fighting the pigs, so I just dropped down, grabbed it, and then left. I made it back home at the end of day 42. I planted my nether wart and made a few potions. But I had more important things to worry about before I decided to go into an ancient city. I was finally able to start enchanting on day 43, which was such a relief. But it took me so long to get a decent enchant on my pickaxe. I wanted Fortune 3, but I just decided to settle for Fortune 2 because I was running out of levels, and I still wanted to enchant my pants and my chest plate. I spent the next few days focusing on my villagers, and I know the way that I do things probably isn't the most efficient, and I know some people might be criticizing me for the way I do things, but listen, I just do whatever I think is easiest for myself, and if you disagree, that's fine. Leave me alone. I decided on day 49 that it was time for me to just go down there to the ancient city and get it over with. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, I was really scared. I actually thought I was gonna pee my pants. After hesitating for like 10 minutes, I finally drank my night vision potion and jumped down. After carefully checking the surrounding area, I opened my first chest and I actually ended up finding a Breach 4 book, which is apparently an enchantment for the mace. I don't really know much about the mace. I haven't really tested anything out, so hopefully that's good. Chest number 2 had a Curse of Vanishing Diamond Hoe, a couple of disc fragments, and a Swift Sneak 2 book. And I was pleasantly surprised when I found my favorite music disc of all time in chest number 3. I continued very slowly and very carefully navigating the ancient city, and I noticed there were a few chests across from me, but they were surrounded by 6 different shriekers. And I thought I covered them all from every angle, but I guess I didn't because I ended up triggering them and scaring myself, so I left. I was done. I made it back home on day 51, and here's pretty much everything that I got other than a few pieces of coal. I was so exhausted from that trip that I just decided to fish for the rest of the night. The next day, I decided that it was time to start mining for ancient debris, so I just gathered a bunch of wool for beds and then I went into the nether. I spent the next 7 days mining for ancient debris, and it was taking me so long to really find any, so I had to try 3 different methods. But eventually, I was able to gather 16 ancient debris, which is enough for full armor. Now all that's left is to get some smithing templates and enchant a new set of diamond armor because, well, it's just cheaper. So I spent the next few days working with my villagers, and I even made the stalls a little prettier. And do not worry about zombies getting to the villagers, they won't be able to, that's why the trapdoors are there. I'll just close them when I'm done trading. And for some reason, Minecraft decided to turn into The Walking Dead. Then it was back to working on my villagers. I was finally able to get an Unbreaking 3 villager, as well as something called Density 5, which is apparently another mace enchant. I decided to just keep it. And of course, I forgot to trade with my Unbreaking 3 villager, because after playing Minecraft for over a decade, I'm still a noob. But on the bright side, he turned into a Protection 4 villager instead. I was also able to get a Mending villager, and I tried really hard to get an Unbreaking 3 again, but it wasn't working, so I just settled for Infinity. And do not worry, I actually traded with him this time. I spent days 68 through 70 trading, chopping trees, making sticks, and trading more. And eventually I was able to get full mending, as well as 3 Protection 4 books and Infinity. But I didn't get my last Protection 4 book, simply because I forgot. I went ahead and enchanted my diamond armor with the books that I did have. As for the rest of my enchantments, I'll do that after it's already netherite. I mean, I know it'll be expensive, but it's fine. And I went ahead and made myself an infinity bow, which is going to be very useful for when I'm in the end. Then it was time for me to find a smithing template. And I decided to check the bastion that I was at earlier when I got nether wart. And I guess I was pretty lucky because it ended up having one. After looting the bastion, it was time for me to head back home and start duplicating my smithing templates. But I didn't have enough diamonds, so I had to go back in my mine and get more. After making the last template that I needed, I converted my armor, and oh my gosh, I was so happy and so relieved to finally have netherite. This is gonna make things so much easier. On day 73, I decided to make a banner pattern for my shield, and for some reason, it ended up looking kind of weird. I did some chores around my base, and I also fished for a little bit. I decided that it was finally time to check out the trial chambers, so I used the only villager I had left at my base to make the cartographer, and traded with them until they gave me a trial chamber map. and it seemed like the map he gave me wasn't too far. I'd gathered some supplies before heading out and looking for the trial chamber. After a few minutes, the map started to fill in, so I knew I was close. And after lots and lots of digging, I finally found the trial chamber. Before going in, I placed down a bed and reset my spawn just in case I died. I was really nervous going into it because I didn't do a lot of research, so I didn't know how hard it was going to be. The first chest that I opened had a trial key in it, and another one had honeycomb. And you can literally see in my gameplay how cautious I was being, because I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. I broke open a few pots and I ended up with another trial key as well as some emerald and iron. The first spawner I ran into was a slime spawner, and I completely forgot that slime spawned in trial chambers, so this was actually a pleasant surprise because I wanted slime for leads. And all I got from it was a baked potato. The next room that I entered was full of skeleton spawners. After defeating the skeletons, I used one of my trial keys to open my first vault, and it gave me some iron and a power 1 Unbreaking 1 bow. And I also got kind of lost until I realized that I needed to go down. I went down this staircase and I ended up finding a chest with an ominous bottle in it. And I didn't know what the ominous bottle was for until later, okay? So don't worry, I figured it out. I found the room with a breeze in it, and it wasn't that hard to fight. It was just kind of annoying. After doing some research, I drank the ominous bottle and started an ominous trial. I was actually having a lot of fun doing this, aside from the potions that kept dropping on my head. I opened up my first ominous vault and I got the new armor trim. I was so happy. But I was not done because I wanted to redo the entire trial chamber as an ominous trial. I do not care if it was necessary or not. It was really fun and I got so many good rewards out of it, and I have no regrets. After completing it, I made my way back up to the surface and back home, and I still had some trial keys left over. I used the amethyst that I got from the ancient city to trim my armor, and oh my gosh, I look so awesome. I love it. On day 79, I went to the nether to grind for ender pearls because I was finally ready to conquer the end. And I don't know what I did, but somehow I made this happen, and honestly, I just felt really bad for the Enderman. I returned home on day 80 and made some Eyes of Ender and started preparing my inventory to go to the end. The next day, I set out in search for the stronghold, and I even made a friend to help me on my journey. The Eyes of Ender led me to a village, and I began digging down to find the stronghold. I found the portal room and got rid of the spawner before setting up another portal so that I could use it for faster travel. I also placed down a bed and set my spawn just in case I died while fighting the Ender Dragon. And of course, I had to go steal all the books from the library because I'm gonna need them later for my villagers. I placed my Eyes of Ender and did a pre-end dance before jumping in. I dug my way out and started breaking the crystals, and obviously I had to get thrown by the dragon a couple of times, but don't worry guys, I'm too cool to die. Eventually, I was able to defeat the Ender Dragon, and surprisingly, I didn't die, not even one time. I'm actually very proud of myself. I stole the dragon egg and hopped into the portal. I was so ready to get an elytra. I bridged from island to island trying to find an in-city with a ship, and it didn't take me long to find one. I towered up to the ship to avoid fighting shulkers, and I finally got an elytra, and I was so happy and so proud of myself for making it this far. And also, can I say that the trim on my helmet kind of looks like a heart? I don't know, I just noticed that. There were some diamonds and diamond gear in the chest, including a really good shovel. And I ultimately decided to just kill every single shulker in the in-city because I really wanted some shulker boxes. After defeating all the shulkers, I was just so ready to go back home and go to bed, so I made a shulker box so I could carry all my books, and I flew back to my base. Since the 100 days are almost over, I decided that I should build something special to celebrate, and what better way to honor my world than to build a museum and fill it with memories. But a museum isn't exactly a tiny build, so I was going to need a lot of materials, primarily copper, to match the aesthetic of my base. So I used my elytra to fly to the trial chambers because I figured it would be easier to steal the copper from there rather than going on a mining trip. Thanks to the efficiency enchantment on my pickaxe, I was able to gather a ton of copper without wasting much time. I returned home and cleared an area for my museum, although I do think I could have chosen a better spot now that I think about it. Also, if you ever need build inspo, feel free to follow my Instagram, I'll link it in the description, or if you want to contact me for business, I'll also leave my business email in the description as well. For the museum, I wanted the roof to be curved but still symmetrical at the top, so I went with a U-shaped style. I don't know the technical term. And this pillager came by to visit, but he couldn't pay the entry fee, so I did what had to be done. But he dropped an ominous bottle, which I didn't know was possible. I set up my first exhibits, including my first diamond armor, my first tools, and my dragon egg. I added the last few details to the exterior of my museum, and oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. It turned out so beautiful, and I'm so proud. Here's a quick tour of the interior. I know it's looking kind of empty right now, but don't worry guys, eventually this place is going to be full of memories. And there goes a very loud truck again. With my museum complete, I spent the rest of day 94 organizing. On day 95, I decided to spend some time with my villagers because I wanted to get Mending and Unbreaking 3 on my elytra, and I still needed protection for my boots and Unbreaking 3 on the rest of my armor. After a few tries, I was finally able to get an Unbreaking 3 villager, and oh my gosh, it was such a relief. So I spent the next few days collecting sticks and trading so that I could get all the books I needed for my elytra and my armor. By the end of day 96, I officially had all of my main armor enchants, and I no longer had to worry about my elytra breaking. I just know some of you were screaming at me when I used it before enchanting it. I spent day 97 working on my base by replacing some of the copper on my roof with wax copper, decorating my path to my museum, and planting some cherry saplings. On day 98, I wanted to add something super cute to my base, so I decided to go with a little campfire area under one of my cherry trees. And I like it. I think it's adorable. Then I color-coded my dogs because I still don't have any name tags. So on day 99, I went down to a mine shaft and tried to find some, but unfortunately the only chest I found didn't have one. But what I did find was a zombie villager, so I put him in a boat because maybe I'll cure him later. Day 100 finally arrived, which meant I needed to build something that will be useful for the future. So I decided to build a stable for a horse. I spent the entire last day working on it, and it turned out pretty cute. This horse will help us on many of our future adventures, and I hope you guys will be there to enjoy them with me. I can't believe the first 100 days are already over. It feels so unreal, and I had so much fun exploring this update. If you guys are interested in seeing 200 days in this world, please let me know in the comments and I will absolutely do that. There's still so many things to be done, and I would love to continue this journey with you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.